Smart 24, driving business.
Exactly 6 minutes past 8, and you're watching Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Barigi with Masi Katsime this morning. But well, at this particular time, as Smart Means Business is culture, we believe in inspiration as we get to review the few different quotes from some of the renowned entrepreneurs that have gone ahead of us. And we pick up a leaf. Let's get into this. Well, consistency is what turns something average into excellent.
Excellent. Keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up.
Yeah, like you see, I normally say that 1 hour every day of practicing a skill is way much better than practicing a skill 5 hours on Monday, 3 hours on Tuesday, you skip Wednesday, you skip Thursday, you skip Friday, you return on Saturday, you start at 7 hours, you skip more 4 days. Now, somebody that is actually having 1 hour every day, 360 days, 365 days a year, every day he's dedicated with 1 hour of learning a skill. He's way much different than somebody that committed about, because it was about 360 hours, but somebody probably studied more hours in that year, a skill, but they weren't consistent. There was no pattern. You study it today, you skip a week, then you study 4 hours the other time, you get chance, you skip a month, then the next time you come back, you spend 10 hours, but you're not consistent because the brain pattern of adaptation is kind of halted when you're trying to grasp that. And that clearly draws the line between excellency and mediocrity rather.
Oh yeah, because I really do agree. But of course, we are in an area where people no longer focus. They're not consistent when you look at the millennials and this new Gen Z, this generation, the Gen Z. We don't have focus because there are very many responsibilities that one has, and it's a whole.
But those responsibilities, to some degree, play a role. We play a role in getting these responsibilities an age we are not supposed to be actually having them. At an age where you're supposed to be developing a skill, you're probably a parent. That's the challenge now we're experiencing. And probably at 20 years, you already have 2 kids. Tell me how you're going to focus really in life, because there is demand for that girlfriend you probably made pregnant before time. There is demand that she's now looking up to you as a dad. And and it explains why we have a generation of motherless, single mothers that is rising up, because this person later realizes they can't take you up. So you're going to, first of all, you're traumatized. So in that being traumatized, you're not going to be consistent in anything you do. So, and before you know it, you start to become desperate with life. You don't have any skill you can focus on and create an income for yourself. You are literally surviving on what comes your way. And an economy with a biggest percentage of people who say that anything that is available, I'll do. It's hard to grow. So what defines you, Mercy, that if somebody mentions you in a room, they can say, oh, Mercy is a good writer. She is a strategist. What do they know about you? That if an opportunity is spoken about anywhere, they can recommend you. You are the kind of a person that you can do anything, that you have no identity at the end of the day. What is that? In states like New York, you can't survive unless you have an identity. If they mention your name, somebody should have an idea of who you are in terms of if they have to recommend you. If they mention Mr. So-and-so, oh, he's a good painter. They mention a certain name, oh, he's probably if any other skill you can talk about. He's a craftsman. That's what you're known for, and that is what is creating income for yourself. But the generation we're in, we're acting too busy. Responsibilities we obtained at an age, maybe I don't judge those people. Sometimes it's lack of mentorship and a career and getting to create a picture of what you really want to be. Because when if you know what you want to be and you have been mentored well, you'll be scared to get into certain responsibilities at an age you're not ready for them. And that has hindered economic growth and investment because people's minds are scattered. Different responsibilities.
I do agree. And yesterday we were sharing something about what people really do perceive of you.
What do people perceive of you?
Perceive of you. If you are seated among your friends, and every time, that is why every time we come here, we encourage you to know the kind of people you're supposed to surround yourself with, because at the end of the day, they can really tell the kind of character you are. Yeah. So if you go to a bar and you're always drinking and your friends call you out, you're always available. Even if you pitch an idea to them one day, you wake up in the morning, you're like, you know what, I feel like I should start up a thing. They'll be like, really? Do you?
Of all people.
We don't know you as the type. Much as you may think you have it in you. So they have a different perception of you than you have of yourself. Yes. So surround yourself with people that see value in you. Yeah, much as, of course, sometimes people go, all the way to, have a little bit of fun, but then be in that space where people, at least when you say something, they'll be like, yeah, at least we can support. That's the only time the people get to see you. So, I mean, be of importance, be of value, so that people can be like, okay, much as he does this, I feel like they have spoken sense at some point in life. He has spoken sense at some point in life. Yeah, he does something A, B, C, and D, because your lifestyle at the end of the day doesn't have anything to your personality, but then when it comes to achieving things, you could have a different lifestyle away from work. It's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So surround yourself with people that see value in you, so that they don't doubt.
They don't doubt you.
They don't question your ideas. They're like, is it because he's high, or is it because he's okay? So they don't know where you lie if you say some statements. Yeah. So please, yeah.
All right. All right. Interesting. Now, of course, like heading back to the discussion of the day today, taking a look at the wildlife conservation, but of course, in particular now, taking a look at the innovative approaches to ensure that this is actually dealt with. You know, conserving wildlife still has an attribute to matters to do with the environmental protection.
Yeah.
As we protect, whereby we coexist with nature. And those can I call and the residents of that nature. We are also part of the residents, but there are those that stay with nature 24/7 all day. That is the wildlife we are speaking about. And in line with that, it brings me back to the perspective, because now if we are to have this effectual, the innovative, we need to revolve innovative approaches, and most of these should be in line with the digitization bit of it, to ensure that this is actually a success in some kind of a way. Now, recently, when I was interacting with somebody, he was telling me about how they're developing AI chatbots that help people to get to understand how effectively they can conserve the environment. Because many times when we have these conferences in relation to these discussions, people don't really perceive well what is discussed on these conferences. And the best they do, they get back at the end of the day and do the very old things that can I call them? They do the very old practices that they have been practicing, which further degrade the environment. But when we have these speakers speak, and their speech is localized to the different tribes within Africa. It could be East Africa, but in most cases, for this case now looking at Uganda, we shall play a huge role in terms of the message reaching the people. Otherwise, stopping at conferences and you talk about wildlife conservation does not help, because the people that are probably there are not even participating in the wildlife conservation. So literally, you're speaking to the wrong people, but there are those people that are interacting with nature on a daily basis. Those people need to receive that message.
Yeah, mostly those that I could say maybe those that stay near like Winnie Penetrable Forest.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's always there to actually, the Wildlife Authority has always been there to actually bridge the gap between human life and wildlife. Protecting, bridging the gap, protecting
coexistence
coexisting so that people can coexist. Because we've seen instances where we've had attacks of animals into people's homes. I mean, why would you actually reside next to a national park? There is a possibility that anything could actually come out of there. So I mean, it's just the whole aspect of land. I've been here for centuries. Our ancestors have resided here, but then you're encroaching on both. You're actually encroaching on the life of these animals and also endangering. You're putting your life at stake.
Yeah, I think now this comes in with some other authorities coming into play, talking about the National Planning Authority. When it comes to designating areas of settlement, these are the areas for recreation. You know, these are areas for recreation, these are tourism areas, these are tourist sites, and we don't anticipate settlements around here. So the planning of the country will determine how all this really interplays out, why some people are able to settle within swamps, all this. It all shows you clearly with the lack of a planning, lack of a proper planning, actually, why we have all this. So I would urge all these members to be on board, because if we have these discussions, minus the key stakeholders that are responsible, that directly influence settlements and encroaching onto this wildlife, then what we are speaking is in vain. Activists, being an activist of something may not necessarily translate into its manifestation or its implementation. There needs to be authorities to ensure that this is actually a reality. That's according to what I think.
Yeah, but I like the fact that you know, I think the reason as to why there is conflict between you know, the agencies responsible for wildlife is just that at the end of the day, when the tourists come in place, they kind of sideline the community people. So now
in terms of like
not giving them opportunity, you know, to showcase what they have. So at least they try to involve them, the community, so that they can participate, you know, so they can get out of tourists as well. Yeah, so it becomes so hard for them if they see two people coming around and then they're showcasing things, and for them they're not benefiting. So I feel they feel like who stay near. At least we should tap on some of the dollars.
But at some degree, you cannot force somebody to buy your product.
Yes, of course, I know that. But then for them, they feel okay. They feel like, okay. Even if they don't buy, at least they have noticed.
They have noticed.
They have noticed.
That's the big deal.
Yeah, that's the big deal. But
yeah.
of course, when it comes to the new innovations, I feel like, the tracking systems, like the GPS they put on animals, just in case they go astray, they can track them and the likes. So it's also that innovation that we could have, because there's a lot of poaching actually. There's a lot of poaching of animals, mostly elephants.
Yeah, elephants.
Their horns are used for ivory and very many other adornments. Yeah. So if we could have those tracking devices put on animals to track their movements, you can tell at least. Yeah, because we've seen some animals sort of reducing in numbers due to poaching and of course human interaction, and people do kill. Some people kill, they don't even call authorities for.
They're killing for economic reasons because they want the value, they possess a value. But that in the long run will affect the people that are coming to actually observe those specific animals because they no longer exist. So that's the balance we are trying to create here. We make money out of it, but still trying to find a way as we conserve. Now, according to a report here, digital technologies, we see that with 2/3 of the world's population online, digital technologies transforming wildlife conservation and trade, according to this. So now the issue comes in with how do we localize these technologies to reach the common person that would make a much more difference. Now we have the aspects of better connectivity, which equips people with job-ready digital skills, because when they participate now, for example, with the climate change chatbots, climate conservation, conserving nature chatbots, teaching the local person, they will need people to participate into the development of these applications. So that means people will be getting jobs, and that to develop these chatbots, these platforms. So that is employment opportunity by simply participating into conserving the environment, but from the digital perspective. But of course, despite all this, I would still also love to understand how are we going to address the challenges of about 2.7 billion people globally who lack internet access, and what percentage do we have for Uganda in line with this? Because we've come to realize that any message that you want to spread today, if you don't have a digital distribution plan for enriching that message to the desired community, that is already in vain. And if 2.7 billion, that's almost, because the entire population is about, that's almost 40%, 35% of the world is not able to access internet. So that means this message cannot reach out. So 35%, if 35% people, if 35% of the global population is destroying actually the environment, let me assume, because they don't have access to the internet and they don't know what to do at that particular time, what does that mean to the future of the ecosystem in Uganda, if we have to look into that in Uganda and also the world at large? Because this population constitutes that on this percentage of the 2.7 billion, Uganda has most developing countries have a huge share. But surprisingly, we don't emit a lot in terms of disrupting the environment, according to research. So that can also, we can also say that digitization is lack of essential digital infrastructure in terms of distributing a message may not be a guarantee that that area is actually not practicing the environmental conservation habits. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, well, of course, if you understand the problem that you have as a country, that means you have to go to the... Uganda is reminding every now and again, actually. You even have to go there physically to interact.
To interact.
Because even with the messages, okay, that would be like scrolling. Okay. So you have to go and remind them every now
day.
and again on how to conserve the environment. That is why, I mean, what is the money for when we allocate money for such? You go out in the field and sensitize people and educate people. Yes, that is your role. Because if you understand the problem that your people have, you have to make sure you remind them every now and again. Because you've been facilitated, there is transport, there is accommodation. What is it that you're lacking? There's nothing. So just use your voice to speak to the people, because that is what they would understand.
And actually, this also brings me to a point of the influencers that I use to spread this message. And now, like this Wildlife Conservation Day 2024, shall be having Eddie Kenzo being part of, performing on that day. Probably he must have a message for the young generation in line with environmental conservation. Because who speaks to you
Matters.
sometimes matters.
It matters, but the thing is about, I don't know really, because he has been an ambassador, when it comes to tourism and the likes, for several years. But people do not see him. I don't know. The
He does not possess authority.
Yeah. People are going to be there in concerts, and it's going to pass it through probably. Conserve the environment. People are going to be, but then
So you mean it doesn't look serious?
No. How do you put out your message? How do you put out your message? Because
I believe
if it's in form of, of course, there's going to be a concert and the like. So, and of course, he'll be, educating people. So for some people, they'd be like, he's an artist. Environment. I want to see Eddie Kenzo, the artist.
Yeah, but the artist, people love to see the other side of you as an artist, the developmental side of you. The side that can teach, the side that can advise, the side that can mentor somebody. Now, we are now talking about environmental conservation, and clearly every Ugandan can see that we can relate with this. So seeing such an artist like Eddie Kenzo coming to be a part of this, I believe it creates, because when they are categorizing speech, there is the aspect of sometimes people will listen to your speech because of who you are. Sometimes they'll listen to your speech simply because of you're attaching to their emotions. But now he may not be the kind that may touch emotions, but his personality alone can have impact.
I feel like someone would be like, Eddie Kenzo, where you want to,
Exactly. And whatever he says on that concert when he's performing, I think when it comes to media promotion, they shouldn't promote the performance, but what did he say? What did he say on the concert? It's what will make this him. It's what will make his being there relevant. Not entertaining people.
Exactly.
But that message, even after the concert, it is spread on TikTok. This is what he said in regards to conservation. We shall see a change. All right, now it's exactly 29 minutes past 8. Let's take a short break, and of course we'll return with business and entertainment and sports.